how do I then self-regulate? So there's so many amazing ways to self-regulate that costs nothing but just awareness and consciousness and your presence. That's what they cost. They cost your presence. And I like to call these, that you can call them physiological technology. So we have this incredible technology inside of our bodies that's available that most people just have forgotten or we weren't taught in school. So some of them would be obviously breath work. I know breath work is like kind of overdone out there these days, but my thing is like, if your fascia isn't flowing around the diaphragm area and around the rib cage and in the pelvic floor, you're not actually going to be breathing efficiently. So the thing is, our lungs can take in 2 gallons worth of oxygen. Most people are only taking about 20% of that capacity. So you can go out and breath work your way all day, but are you actually fully expanding and fully contracting to get, because there's so much more going on with breath work than just like bringing in oxygen and releasing CO2. It is literally discharging and purging emotions and stress.
And toxins, yeah.
And toxins, exactly. So breath is so important, and we'll do a little bit of the diaphragm release at the end. The other pieces are like we were doing earlier, which is using our voice is so powerful because it's a vibration type of sound healing. So ohming has been studied. There's all different types of chanting at different tones that will affect different areas. But for people that are not into that whole kind of mystical side of things, just singing a song in the car when you're driving, humming, or just ohming, you can just om, which is basically, the vibration of oneness, and it's helping to connect your mind, body, and spirit. So I like to use om because it's like the universal sound of the universe.
Yeah.
But what I love about those types of tools, breath work, awareness, consciousness coming in, just like even thinking of like softening your pelvic floor right now, releasing the clutch. We can do that together. Anyone that's listening, you can do this while you're driving. Just squeeze your pelvic floor, pull it up and in like you're going to cut your pee off midstream. Squeeze, pull it in, and then drop it and relax. And now let it drop one more layer. So that's the surrender. And then the squeezing and pulling up is the contraction. It's the control. So we have both. I know we've talked about this before, but like control and surrender, this is where we want to try to have more balance. So much of what we've been living in the world over the last how many years is living in this patriarchal world of do, force, make it happen. It's the classic, just do it. What about balancing out with just be it too?
Go to the forest for rest.
For rest. It's not that we want to just surrender all the time, because that's not the answer either.
Right.
But it's having both. It's the yin and the yang, right?
Yes.
It's the force and the flow. It's the do and the be. And having the discernment of knowing when we need rest. And guess what tells you when you need rest? Your fascia.
Your fascia.
Your interoception, which is your sense of feeling what's happening on the inside.
Yeah.
So it's pretty exciting time for this whole fascia thing.
I mean,
because now we know.
Totally. I mean, if I want to be in flow and into my intuition, I want to get out all the dust and the clutter and the stagnation that I've stuffed down unconsciously.
Totally.
As this human in a
as we all do.
fast-paced life,
Totally.
And as a human that was never really taught or modeled, you know, healthy feelings, how to feel and how to express them, that they were okay. And I had a childhood of judging feelings because I was embarrassed about someone's expression or whatever.
Yeah.
So much is stuffed down. So to learn these tools, have this awareness, have things like the Align Life Studio and things that you teach.
Movement. So movement is so key.
Okay.
This is the most beautiful. This is kind of the foundation of how I got going. So I was teaching Pilates, then I learned structural integration. And then what we learned is that when we have pain in an area, it's obviously connected to the whole system. Mm-hmm. So the fascial system, if you have pain, you don't want to just go to the pain place. So that's where all the programs and flows and practices I have are helping address the holistic system of the tissue. And, we work with fascia, but you're obviously working with all the systems, as we talked about earlier, and you're also building strength, because the areas where we have usually a disconnect or we're not inhabiting in that area because of trauma or tension or a holding pattern, it gets weaker. The nerves start to become numb, the muscles start to atrophy. And so what's really cool is one of the other side effects of, this is why I called the first book Taller, Slimmer, Younger. When you release the blockages in the fascia, the muscles start to fluff up to the surface without you even having to do much, which is super wild, because I know everyone's like, you got to lift heavy weights. But actually, if you get your fascia flowing and juicy and you take away that residue and hardness, the muscle just goes, I'm back. I'm here to hold you up. And then you start using your body in these beautiful ways, and the shape, you literally shape shift. You shape shift into a lighter, brighter, more kind of supple, juicy version of yourself. So that's just a side effect.
Yeah.
You know, I love the whole like getting deeper into it, but the side effects are these incredible beauty benefits, posture benefits. Like people just lose weight too. It's crazy. You lose physical and emotional. You shed weight, but you're starting to work with your body instead of against it.
Yeah. And as a woman, you know, I have a lot of like masculine energy, and it's probably developed as like a defense mechanism over time or whatever. But that out pictures as sometimes tension in my body, or like tightness in my shoulders, or, you know, and I know a lot of people listening can relate. So as a woman, you want to be, no matter what your preferences are, it's like as a woman, you want to be soft and supple and
but you can still be strong
and still be strong, but like not tense.
It's like graceful power is what I like to say. Graceful power and strength, and like then you're more grounded, you're more connected to your authentic path, and then you can feel those feelings. And then so the movements that I teach, and we have a few other teachers in the Align Life Studio. We've got yoga in there, we have sound healing. We have all kinds of different movement medicine with all my rolling tools and the rebounder. And then now my new thing is this 5-minute fascia flow. So the 5-minute fascia flow, what I love, and you'll love this. So it came through about a year ago because I wasn't able to see my body worker friends. And I'm like, I got to just become my own body worker. So I started doing this 5-minute flow out on the earth. This is within an hour of waking. I like to do it on the earth to get that electromagnetic energy and get the natural light in the morning. And it's addressing the 5 fascial pathways that actually line up with the meridians. So this is pretty cool. So Tom Myers in the 90s coined a term, he calls it fascial meridians. And so there's 12 of them. And then he just realized that they actually line up with the 12 Chinese medicine meridians. So I've created a system that basically is helping you free up and get flow in all of these areas of our body. So you're affecting yourself physically, emotionally, and energetically when you do this 5-minute flow. And so there are 5 basically areas. It's kind of like, oddly, it's like the Tibetan rites. Have you ever seen those?
No.
Okay, so that's something that's ancient.
Okay.
Someone mentioned it to me the other day. They're like, it's kind of like the Tibetan rites. And I was like, yeah, it takes like a few minutes to do. It's so simple. And so you're just opening up the channels. And what happens is you set yourself up for the day. It's like flossing your fascia. So it's setting yourself up for the day to be able to feel more open, also to be able to ride the waves of life and stress and process stress more efficiently. So no matter what's coming your way, you feel your feet, you take that breath, and then you just like, okay, I got this. So because stress, if you think about it, is a reaction. And it's all it is just because it's something that we care about. So when we realize that stress is there, it's a good thing to have stress. What we don't want is chronic stress.
Yes.
That leads to all the other things.
Right.
And the chronic stress lives in the subconscious.
Right.
So if we do this daily hygiene with the tissue cleaning, with the feeling medicine, then actually you won't get to that point of having that backlog, which then leads to the inflammation and the disease.
Right. All that buildup of chronic stress then just knocks you out of whack,
Yes.
permanently, and then your immune system and all of your systems for your body that are so intelligent can't do its job. So to have this daily practice to create that space and
clears the way,
clears the end of the day, sets you up, and then you're going to accumulate more stress throughout the day.
Of course. So you can do it at the end of the day as well. People like to do it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
First thing in the morning before you go to sleep. Because when we go to sleep, we're going into a whole nother portal, which I want to learn more about that, but that's another story.
Seems like you should be open and flowy for that too.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah. Well, 5 minutes I think is
doable,
manageable, right? And so necessary. And clearly, if today's wasn't telling, I need to start to implement this. I'm so excited.
I think you'll love it.
Let's talk real quick about the pelvic floor. And I just remember you telling me about this years ago when I interviewed you for the summit. But just the intelligence and this like beautiful design of the body, and how the pelvic floor and then the diaphragm and then the jaw, like these three, paint that picture. And because we take for granted, or we're not ever really educated on how crucial and essential and foundational those three things are.
Yes. So it all lines up with the spinal cord, the nervous system. It's the cranial sacral connection. So a lot of people don't realize if you have a tight jaw, most likely you have a tight pelvic floor. And so essentially what these areas are they're kind of like dome-shaped pumps inside of our body. And those pumps actually pump the cerebral spinal fluid. So when they're blocked and dense and thick, which is what the Power Source book is all about, because that's what I started seeing as this general theme with all the people I was seeing on the table, there was these areas that were like really easily, I called them stress containers in the beginning. They were like getting cobwebby. You know what I mean? Like
right at the base of my skull, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In the back, right side.
Yeah, and that's the back of the jaw, essentially, and, the third eye. And so basically, when you start to realize that when you take a deep breath, what our body is supposed to do, let's take a deep breath. Everyone that's listening, take a deep breath. And what will happen is, as you inhale, your diaphragm will push down into your organs, and your organs will drop down into your pelvic floor, and your pelvic floor will open, expand like a flower blossoming. This is autonomic, but we can enhance it more with awareness and consciousness.
And we could do the opposite through stress and anxiety.
Thank you.
We hold on and we don't do that properly. Okay.
So that's exactly what happens. The ability to contract and expand and get that flow, and the massage, like the self-massage that's happening just as you breathe, like you're massaging your pancreas, which helps regulate your blood sugar, which also removes, emotions that get stuck in the organs. I mean, like, it's so crazy, right? Just taking a breath, all of this stuff is happening, or not, right? So when you exhale, the pelvic floor will squeeze and pull in like a rosebud, and it'll push up into the organs and then up into the lungs, and then it will flush out the lungs and get rid of all that CO2 and emotional energy. Wow. And then, as we know now, the jaw connection to the pelvic floor is really massive. And so some people even call the pelvic floor another sense organ, because it can actually, if you walk into a room, if you're really aware of it, it can actually contract because you're feeling like someone's energy is not great, and you don't want to be like exposed to that energy, for instance. So it can give you almost like another navigation system inside of you if you really turn it on. And so many things about the pelvic floor is like, it's all or nothing. It's either like, we don't have a pelvic floor, or it's porn. So we don't have a gray area right now that we're talking about. Yes, we have this area in our body. I mean, in the yoga world, we do with chakras and the root chakra and everything. But I get so excited because when people bring awareness to the pelvic floor, so much changes because it opens up. It's the area of creation, but it's also, creation of people. It's also the area of creation of ideas and innovations, and so much is going on down there. So when we awaken it helps us line up all of our other chakras and helps us feel more in connection to our truth.
Thank you for listening to the Heal Podcast. Be sure to tune in for more empowering wisdom and inspiring healing stories. Oh, and make sure you hit the follow button on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss that one episode that holds the answer you've been searching for. And if you feel inspired, we would love you to rate and review us so that we have the opportunity to reach more people. And of course, you can follow us on Instagram for some behind-the-scenes fun and more inspiration at @HealDocumentary and @KellyGorris. Thank you so much, and be well.